What is up, YouTube, and welcome back to another Fridge Financials video. And yes, I am back. So I know that I talked about before I left for Mexico, I was going to be gone for 10 days. I had a couple videos posted just to kind of keep the content still coming that I pre-recorded. But now we're back and we're recording videos. And it is awesome because we've got some crazy things that happened while I was on vacation. So we're going to be talking about the meme stock saga yet again, and about GameStop and now Chewy as well with Keith Gill, aka Roaring Kitty, aka Deep Effin' Value. So if you're excited for today's video and just want to know what's going on, make sure you smash the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell notifications for all future uploads. And I'm making this video because in one of my previous videos, which was down here as to why meme stocks have pumped over 100%. Look at this channel, guys. Thank you so much for your support, by the way. 166 subscribers. It's absolutely awesome, and the viewership has been absolutely great, so thank you so much for your continued support along in the journey. But so in this video right here, we talked about Keith Gill coming out onto Twitter or onto X and posting things, and talked about market manipulation and stock manipulation and everything else, and the GameStop saga from 2021, and Netflix covered and everything else. But no surprise here, Roaring Kitty, Keith Gill, was given a lawsuit at the beginning of July. So, and this is Forbes. Forbes is covering the article here. So the feline monikered meme stock disruptor Roaring Kitty appeared to use another one of his 9 lives this week, as he looked to have seen off a lawsuit while disrupting no one but 2 retail stock prices. Popular stocks influencer Keith Gill, who was previously known on The Dumb Money from Netflix, has been facing a lawsuit accusing him of engaging in so-called pump and dump scheme involving GameStop Corporation shares. And that's exactly what I was talking about in that video. I was like, this is absolutely stock manipulation. Like, I don't know how you can't tell me that. When you post something and the stock market price, the stock shoots up 20%, 30%, 100%, that's manipulation. It's very straightforward, right? And Gill, of course, has history with this particular stock, as amateur traders mobilized on platforms including Reddit 3 years ago to boost the shares. That just talks about that. So I don't want to go into things with like what happened in 2021 because we already covered that. But it's interesting that now there's a lawsuit that came out in regards to it. In doing so, Gill amassed more than 1 million followers across his Roaring Kitty YouTube channel and Reddit page before going to the ground. But then he reemerged in May of this year, which again is when this is timestamped. Again, it's about a month out. That was made, so it was at the end of May that when he came out and started talking about everything else. This time around, a proposed class action was filed last week in Brooklyn, New York's federal court by GameStop shareholder Martin Radev was dropped just within days of filing after he initially sued Gill for security fraud. So he did sue him, and then he pulled it back. The reason being, we don't really quite know as to why he did that, but he's put out a class action suit against Keith Gill, then he took it away. Not really sure why. Don't know if he has to pay fees still for the lawyer or whatever. In a court filing late Monday afternoon, Radev announced that he was voluntarily dismissing the lawsuit, although it remains unclear why, although it should be noted that he is free to file the suit again should he wish. So, you know, people are coming out as these shareholders, you know, of GameStop, of this meme stock here essentially. And, you know, when Keith Gill talks about things and he impacts the stock price and people lose money in the stock, you know, people are going to be pissed, right? That's what happens. People get pissed off about it. So, yeah, very crazy. I will come back to this part here about the Chewy part here. But he did go live. He came back and he did a live stream here, essentially. After 3 years of silence, Keith Gill resurfaces in bizarre live stream while GameStop shares tumble 40%. Okay, so these are some things he said about, I kind of forget how to do this because he used to live stream years and years ago. He'd do it for hours and hours and hours, into a movie, everything else. When Gill resurfaced on YouTube on Friday, this is a really long time ago, this is at least like a month ago, hundreds of thousands of viewers were waiting. So you have hundreds and thousands of people that were waiting. I think at one point it was like 600,000 people tuned into this live stream, wanting to know what he's going to say about GameStop, which is absolutely crazy. Yet those who turned in looking for clarity were in for a disappointing 50 minutes. So again, it talks about the data here, about what happened 3 years later, remained unprofitable, Its latest earnings released shortly before Roaring Kitty went live outlined a sharp drop in sales since the start of the year. GameStop also confirmed plans to sell up to 75 million more shares, capitalizing on the stock's latest jump, aka capitalizing on Keith Gill pumping the stock price. Just stock price goes up, same thing like AMC. When stocks go up, the company takes their profits, sells their shares to use that money back into the company and everything else. But what was really interesting is the company said they will not be holding a conference call today. I've never really heard of companies doing that. You can do it, I guess. I've never heard of a company doing a conference call, which basically is talking about the quarter, talking about your sales, talking about your revenue, your expenses, answering questions from shareholders. And GameStop was like, nah, I'm not going to hold one. It's all good. But there's no explanation as to why. Just take as much as a quarter. So again, it was down about 40% at one point. The retailer was unprepared to adjust the market, but one diehard believer was to oblige. Gill reappeared with his arm in a sling, a bandage on his head, plasters on his face, sunglasses. A life support machine could be heard in the background before he pretended to die. So this is his live stream right here, essentially, which is absolutely crazy. So why the comeback? There's no real game plan, Gill said. Despite speculation, he might provide new information to explain his confidence in a declining retailer. Instead, he rambled on about movie memes, playing with Magic 8 Ball, and thanking followers for what was ahead of his birthday. Now, this is what it seems like to me, and I'm guessing he definitely must have had a lawyer on standby or representation or something while he went live. Because, again, when he was doing these live streams and people were flooding the market with GameStop and pumping the price, he ended up having to go against the SEC and going into court and, defending himself in court. So this time around, I'm guessing he must have had either talked to somebody beforehand or he had somebody maybe hopefully in the room, I would think, to make sure there's nothing said in terms of, market manipulation, stock manipulation, and everything else. So with him saying there's no real game plan, I feel like there's a game plan for it. There's a game plan for what he's doing, everything else like that. He's not stupid. He's smart. He was a finance person. He worked in financial investments, stuff like that for years. But he's really going around. He's trying to walk a thin line of not trying to pump stock prices up. So that's what my guess is. Now, here's the interesting thing. Far from revelation, Gill delivered a reiteration of his long-standing belief that GameStop's management would one day somehow revitalize the chain. This is not a guarantee, he added, but the man leading the company, the billionaire entrepreneur Ryan Cohen, seems to be doing the right things. Okay? So, and you're wondering, what's going on with what he's talking about. He has this backing of GameStop about with Ryan Cohen and everything else. In this case, the absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. I'm not saying any of the right things. I'm saying the wrong things now. Where's the eject button? Probably because you can't say much things. And the shares were down a lot. It was absolutely crazy, and it was just wild. So what we're really looking at here, and I'm going back to Chewy now, and this is where I think there's a lot of things going on here. As if one disruption wasn't enough, also on Monday of this week, shares of online pet food and merchandise retailer Chewy rose 15% pre-market before falling sharply after filing shows that Gill has picked up 6.6% stake in the business. 6.6% of the company he picked up. So he owns 6.6% of the Chewy retailing company. And as you'll see on this trading view here, this is where the news came out and it pumped up. And now it's obviously came back down since. But again, I mean, a 15% move is no joke. And he tweeted out a cryptic picture. I believe it was a dog. And the stock shot up 15%. Obviously, it came back down, but still came back up. Right? And, just in case you need to understand, market manipulation, what it is when someone artificially affects the supply or demand for a security. For example, causing stock prices to rise or fall dramatically. Keith Gill is fitting under this definition of market manipulation. And, I don't care what people are saying about it. That is literally the definition. Market manipulation may involve techniques including spreading false or misleading information, which he didn't do that. Engaging in a series of transactions to make a security appear more actively traded. No, I guess not as much. Again, these are things that they may come up with it. Rigging quotes, prices, and trades to make it like there's more or less demand for security. But essentially, manipulation is you are causing a huge increase or decrease of the stock. Now, did he come out on the live stream during the earnings report just to make sure that when the earnings could have been bad, he didn't impact it and he could bounce off and say, guys, it's not down 40% because of me. It's down because of the earnings report. I don't really know. But here's the thing just to keep in the back of your head here, right? So we talk about how Ryan Cohen is the guy in charge of GameStop. He's the one on the board. He's the one that was there. We talked about Keith Gill owning a percentage of Chewy at 6.6%. Take a look at this. Ryan Cohen, net worth $4.2 billion, is the former CEO of Chewy. That's interesting. And to me, I think that can't be a coincidence, right? I mean, maybe it is, but again, he stepped down in 2018 after selling the PetSmart for $3.4 billion. At the end of 2020, Cohen spent about $76 million buying 13% in GameStop, which are. There has to be something. There has to be something. Like Keith Gill and Ryan Cohen have to have some sort of like connection. They have to know each other, have talked to each other, whatever it is, because this is he bought at the end of 2020, and GameStop, that whole saga came up at the beginning of 2021 with Keith Gill. So Ryan Cohen was probably like, "Oh my God, Keith Gill, thank you so much. You've pumped the stock price up. Whatever, I made a lot of money. Thank you so much." And now Keith Gill now owns Chewy, which he was the former CEO of. Very interesting to think about. So, thank you so much for watching today's video, as per usual. So, yeah, meme stock, legend, Keith Gill, deep effing value, roaring kitty, had a lawsuit against him, then had it dropped. But now we got another meme stock in play now with Chewy. Very interesting to think about. So, keep your mind on the markets. Watch it. I mean, obviously, as you can tell, Chewy is back down. Thankfully, I say thankfully only because this is just wild stuff going on here. GameStop has been doing absolutely nothing for the last month. So thankfully there hasn't been anything crazy with that one. But, just some crazy things to think about. So thank you so much for watching today's video. Again, really interesting to know that someone actually filed a lawsuit against Keith Gill. Will there be more coming out of the woodwork? Only time will tell. If you made this far in the video, please consider subscribing to the channel. Smash the thumbs up button. Leave your comments down below as per usual. It is great to be back. I hope you guys are making money in the market, not through meme stock pumps like this guy is right here. And I will see you guys in the next video.